Someday over the rainbow way up high. Oh wait, that's should be not the beats. Wait.
זה כבר עשיתי. זה מה שאני אומר. אין לך את זה בקורה ששם מה התורה שאני אומר? יש מה זה שוב ולא סוף, זה שוב יותר מזה. זה שוב תשמע. איך נסר מסבות, מצליח להרים לי של הצבות. לא, זה כולם בביקורת, זה העם חומר, ויש יותר עמוד. היה הולך לבלבן. יש לי כזה, יש לי כמה חומר. היה משבח אותה לפני בלבן. שהיה כותב שם בספר. היו רואים, היה משבח את כל התלמידים שלו לפני בלבתים. היה משווק אותם. שהם כל אחד שאילו זה, תלפוקום זה, הוא משבח את התלמידים שלו לפני בלבתים. מה אני לא למדתי מזה? אמרתי את זה לאבא כמה פעמים. אתה צריך לשבק את הבנות שלך, שהבית שלך, הסימנה, בצבא, המקום הכי טוב, והתכתובל הכי טוב. ולא רק זה, אמר לו אותם כולם. זה מספר, זה צריך להכניס להם, זה גאווה היחידה, שלא בורם בכל העולם. אם אתה מכניס על הראש שלהם...
נעשה פעולה היום, אני אעשה פעולה היום בעזרת השם. כמה פעולים? חב גדול. זה מציס. כן? שמעת? טוב. היום הוא רביעי.
מאוד מאוד צפוף או לא?
לא, זה אפשר. אבל למה אתה רוצה דווקא לילה ולא יום חמישי?
אבל אולי אני יכול לעשות בשבילם, אני יכול לארגן את זה.
שנייה, לא, אם אתה עושה צריך להיות בחלק מזה. צריך שיהיה רב. לא, בסדר. אתה מרגיש שאתה צריך את זה, שהבחורים צריכים את זה היום?
לא, מרגיש שיהיה ככה. אין לסתור לך 74,000 שקל היום. אלכס סביבה של 4,000 שקל השבוע.
אלכס סביבה. כן.
יונתן מוסטורי גם שלנו. 2,300. כאילו, כי הוא אורי
כן, בסדר.
אדם דוב אמר שהוא משלם עכשיו 1,000 שקל היום.
לירון משלם.
Is you there? Can you say hi? No, I guess you're not there.
חייב, צריך לדעת שהוא חייב כסף לישיבה. צריך להגיד לו של כל. כן, אין פטור. לא, הוא בא היום לתפילה, לא בתפילה. שידור בא לתפילה. כלום, אנחנו עושים חשבון. תוך שבועיים באת רק פה ופה, אז אתה לא קורא לך מה לעשות פה. סוף השבוע. בסדר, או היום או מחר, לא משנה. אז מה, אבל מחר הוא לא יבוא. פעם אחת בשבוע לא מספיק לי. הוא יגיד תירוצים, הייתי חולה על איזה. אחרי שבועיים זה מספיק לי.
You hear me? You hear me? You don't hear me.
Okay, so we started with the Ran and the Rif. We stopped in the middle. So I want to glance it through again and finish it.
Where you
הפת
starting?
והשמן שלוים והשלוקוס מפורש בגמורה שאיסור של פת משום חסנוס ושמן גם כן. Bread, oil, and shlokos and cooked food, we know the Gemara says that the prohibition of bread is chasnus and oil is as chasnus. The half shlokos, even shlokos, Rashi, the Mishnah explained, Pirish Rashi, shemishum chasnusness.
Where you reading in the Ron? What are you reading in the Ron? What's my friend's name, Ima? Who the computers? Benjamin? Benjamin, right?
The Gemara says in the Aflamed Vova Mulbeis, Omar ki osor Rav Ache bar Ado Omar Rav Yitzchok. Gozru al pitom v'shimon mishum yenom. You cannot eat bread and oil because of the wine. V'al yenom mishum b'noiseihem. And wine is because of the daughters. So the Gemara clearly says that the goal of not eating bread and not drinking the oil is, or eating the oil, is because of the daughters. And not marrying the daughter because it's Avodah Zarah. So the goal is chasnas. But the Gemara doesn't talk about shlokos, only bread and oil. You hear? And now from Vova Bay doesn't mention oil, doesn't mention cooked food. So that's why the Ran says like this. I'm starting the Ran again. You love the Ran? Apad v'ashemen shalom v'ashlokos mefurish b'Gemara. What it's in the Gemara? She'isura shel pad mishum chasu v'ashemen gamken. Stop. That's the Gemara from Medvov. The Gemara from Medvov the Gemara says that the issue of bread and oil is chasnas. Mishum yenom yenom mishum b'noiseihem, the daughters. But it's talking about cooked food. Where does cooked food belong to? And that's what he says. The half shlokosh Rashi. Even shlokosh Rashi explains it's a Rashi. It's not a Gemara. It's a Rashi. The half shlokosh Rashi. Shemishum chasnus nesu. Shlokosh cooked food is because of marriage, but it doesn't say in the Gemara marriage. It's only Rashi. Why? Where does Rashi know that from? Where does Rashi know that shlokos is part of chasus? The Gemara wanted to say the halamin of shlokos was iso daraisa of, we learned from Moav that we bought from Omanu Moav food and water. Water no fire, also food no fire, but with fire you cannot eat. Cooked food you can't eat. That was the havamina. Maskona says the Rabbanon, but doesn't say which the Rabbanon. What is the small Rabbanon? Rashi says the Rabbanon there, Yidovoracher. But Rashi in the Mishnah said the Rabbanon is Chasnus. So what? Because his goal, I'll tell you why. Because the Rana's opinion is that shlokus and baking is one thing. Cooking and baking is one zach. It's one thing. So he has a kasha. It's true. The why the Braisa, the Mishnah, divides bread and cooked food to two things. Both of them is the cooking and marriage. There's baking, which is cooking, and there's cooking. But both are cooking mishum chasnos. So why we separate bread and cook food, two different things? It's one thing. So it should be one unit. Cooked food, you're not allowed, and baking is part of cooking, you're not allowed because of chasnos. It's one reason. One reason, the same thing. Same category, one reason, too. So why the Mishnah divides it to two? Capish? He answers. Shloima. You with us, Rebbe Yonatan? Shloima. Shtei gzerois avu. There was two gzerois. Talmidei Shammai v'Hillel gozu al pitom v'shinom. There's two gzeros. Students of Shammai Hillel, they made a decree on bread and oil, mishum yenom, because of the wine. Kedeisi b'Gemora says in Gemora daf lamed vov. Amud Aleph. One second. What does it say there? The tarvayu shaychi behad yain. It's Amud Aleph, it's a mistake, it's Amud Beis. One second. Maybe the seventh Amud Aleph, we don't know. Let's recheck that. Before we say a mistake, Hashem and the Gemara says Hashem and Daniel, Shua Shem Zilifot Shetmeim. Says Geula akum. Or Shua Rav Vishlei Medida Minizah and Shemen. Then some gap. And the doctor Madani.
I'm sorry, I'm done with base.
ואומר הבא הימין או יסור משמית רב. פיתון ושמנון ינום ובנו יסיים כולו משמונה עשר דבר. Says bread, oil, wine, and the daughters, all of them 18 things. Doesn't say that bread and oil is because the daughters. Later in Banana Mudalev. No, it's Amud Beis. I don't see nothing in Amud Aleph. What brings down that you're not allowed to drink wine, oil, and bread of goyim because everything is avodah zarah. Everything is because avodah zarah.
What's the note say on the run? You hear me, Rav Yitzchak? Do you hear me?
The daughters, primary avodah zarah.
Doesn't sound
I'm
like.
with you.
Also,
Hello?
now it's not.
Do you hear us?
Do you hear me? You hear me? You Rabbi Yotzi?
Yes.
Okay, Baruch Hashem. Okay,
Yes, Rabbi Yosef, we hear you.
okay,
You're
wonderful.
alive, you're existing.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh,
But now you're fading out.
okay. I don't see, I think it's a mistake. You're okay. So let's go back to the Ran. The Ran says, Yeshloima, I'm reading the second line. Yeshloima. Shtei gzeros avu. 1 second, let me read. Yes? It goes on Yichud. Yichud leisei mishum avodah zarah. So the Gemara says all of them is the Zohar. Gemara says they might, if you eat the bread, you'd have yichud with the daughters. You have yichud with the daughters, you don't have the Zohar. The Gemara says don't eat the oil and bread because because of Bnei Seyem, because of yichud with the daughters, and yichud with the daughters you might come to the Zohar. What's wrong to be with a non-Jewish woman? What's wrong to be with a non-Jewish woman? What's wrong to be with a Spanish woman, an American woman, Arabic woman? What's wrong? Hezbollah woman, what's wrong? It's a woman. What's wrong? Wrong is, since they don't have a Zohar, they'll lead you to have a Zohar. Yeah. No, you're making a mistake. You're jumping a line. It says that Piton, Shimnom, V'yenom, Asumishum, Noisem, Noisem, Shum, Dovar Acher. Rashi says Dovar Acher, Avodah Zarah. Before that, it says, the Moses says, Omar, Bar Maravimi, Shum, Nesnuso, the Kula, Mosum, Shum, Avodah Zarah. It's not like Rav Acha Bar Yitzchak says. So all of them is Avodah Zarah, which means even Chasnus, don't marry the daughters. What's wrong marrying the daughters? Avodah Zarah. Marry the daughters will happen. They become Christians. They become Avodah Zornik, Buddhists. Who knows what crazy ideas? Who knows they have problems? Avodah Zarah. They get astray away from the Torah. So let's go back here. Yeshloima. So the kasha was since bread and oil, and Rashi adds even cooked food, all of chasus. We said the Yisrael of chasus Avodah Zarah, but forget it, put that on the side. It's chas. So therefore, why the Mishnah bread, oil, and cooked food? Oil should be part of bread and oil. I mean, cooked food would be bread and oil. Why we put them in two different categories in the Mishnah? So the Ran answers. Yeshkris. Talmidei Shammai v'Hillel gozu al Piton v'Shimnon. Shum yaino. Kenisa b'Gemara Amud Vov Amud Beis. The Gemara, he says, bread and oil is because if you drink the bread, you're going to need the wine. It's a problem. Or then you marry the daughter, you yichud with the daughters, and you come to Avodah Zarah. So wine will bring you daughters Avodah Zarah, or wine itself is yain nesach Avodah Zarah. The tarvayu shayche, bread and oil, both of them belong to shayach. What is shayach? What applies to? The tarvayu shayche, both of them apply to the adayain together with wine. Wine. Bread. As he explains. Oil goes together with wine, because this is liquid. If you put one liquid, then you drink the other liquid. That's liquid. Pot and bread, right? Bread, pot. Mishum de shchicha milsa, because it's very common the thing is common. The ochil inish v'sosi. And man eats and also drinks. So if he eats bread, he's going to drink something with it. Who's going to drink Rabbi Yonason? What? Wine. What's wrong with wine? The Zohar wine. Or Yichud Ador will bring up the Zohar.
You know, he starts to dance. One with the rose in their mouth.
Rose in the mouth? Never saw that. Baruch Hashem, I didn't see that.
And they're dancing back and forth like
boys and girls together. I want to tell you something which I always I saw.
they go down, and they go down on the bar as low as the floor, and they go under the floor, they dance like so low.
Who's they? Who's those they? Who's they? Who is they?
The cows, the bulls on the street, and they drink and they dance. And
It's in America? It's in America? Europe, Latin America? I never saw that. Baruch Hashem. They're using the wine to do the desires. The Goy Vilna says, why always by Avodah Zorah we says the language znut, asher atem zonim achareim. Why the Torah used that when you stray away after Avodah Zorah, use the language of znus? Yes, he says that all of Avodah Zorah is for the goal of znus. The pull of Avodah Zorah is to do znus. So I went to India a couple of times, and one of my was the first time or something. And sure enough, I was in a hotel, and there was a big screen of a television or something on board, and it was a holiday of the place, and their holiday in that area is a coconut holiday. One of the gods is called a coconut. There are millions of gods. One of them is coconut. Now, so it was a festival for the god of, and they have a big, I say person, a very big statue, and everybody brings the coconut as a gift to the statue. And they pass by and they praise the statue, blah, blah, blah. Thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people in India. And one of the things they have is, suddenly what do you see? You see when all the people bring the thing, the wives, the women stand aside and they start dancing. And once they're dancing, men come together with them and dance together. Said that's the Goy Vilna. Yes, that's what. Not also, by the Goy, that's the main. Avol, but like you go to a church. What does a church have? One of the things the guy told me that he converted, him and his wife and his kids, because he had a big problem. His wife was a singer in the church, and what do you think he had? He went always to church, and the priest preaks there, and his wife sings with the orchestra of the church, and all the men look at her, and she talks to all the men, and she gets all attention from all the men, and people meet her and thank her. Blah, blah, blah. He says, "That's not for me." What bothered him, he left Christianity, was a base of that. This noose that's in Avodah Zorah. It's real. It's real. It happened here. Avol, yes, Rebbe Melech. Yes. Right. The reason why they made it big was because people should be like chickens to their wives, like tarnagoylim. Right. One of the 18 decrees is that if somebody dips in a mikvah for keri, he's not going to be able to eat betrum until Erev Shemesh. Now, sorry, that's normal. But if somebody dipped himself to the mikveh and he didn't wait till the night, and before the night he took a shower, the shower cancels the mikveh. That's what we learned. That's one of the 18 things. Yes. Those are fundamental things. Those are fundamental desires of people, my friend. Yeah, we're talking about takone. No, it's not Tfilat says. Talking about if somebody has, you have to mikveh. He's toivel b'mayim shuvim. He washes on mayim shuvim. So the mayim shuvim of 3 lugim nullifies the mikveh. That's a din derabbanan. That's one of 18 examples. Anyhow, let's go back here. What in this generation? Sorry, what's your point? In our generation, yes, Vadai. More than that, when a person is young and it's old, they became, when he has no energy, Hashem gives him back all the energy he needs. If somebody brings the name of the Zohar, when somebody is young and had all his power and his energy and he has hot blood and hormones, who knows what, and he controls himself totally, and for the sake of Hashem, when he gets older, suddenly he says, you see, and the Zohar says, you see rabbis, old, the name goes down. Get old, they can move, but he's not the same rabbi, he's old, this, that. They're losing him the same because he lost his power. Because when he was young, he didn't keep himself in Kedusha. But when a person is himself in Kedusha, Hashem says, I'll pay them measure for measure. Saying when a person was young, he had energy, he gave his energy to Hashem. So when now Hashem says, when he doesn't have energy, I will put all the energy as if he says, I didn't see it for years and years. I saw there was a young man in that a book called Yesod Shoresh Avoda. I didn't see it for years and years, but that's what I saw then. It's a strong slow, right? Let's continue on. Yeshloima. Shtei gzeiro isavu. The Ran says, I'm reading the second line, there are 2 decrees. Talmidei Shama goes to the students of Shama Hillel made a decree on bread and oil. Mishum Yainam. You won't come to drink the wine, and wine is yichud, and yichud will be avodah zarah. Just directly. Bread and oil will bring you to wine avodah zarah. The tarvayu shaychi b'adayai. Bread and oil, both of them apply to, connect to avodah zarah. Sorry, to yain esech. Shemen mibnei shu mashik kamoyu. Oil is a liquid like wine. Upad mishum shchicha milsadok in English and Josi. It's common. The thing is common. The person eats bread, he also has to drink. So he might drink the oil of the wine of goyim, which is avodah zarah. Aval ala shloko is lo gozu. Also beidina achina. Came another Beis Din. They made a decree on all cooked foods. Good morning, good day, Reb Dovin. Just came back. All the food. So on the cooked food that he made, and came another basin and made decree on all the cooked food, mishum chasnus, because of marriage. Again, he's saying wine and oil is the same. Bread, you might drink wine. But cooked food, no, it's not part of that. Didn't make a decree. And another basin came and decree, I won't eat any cooked food because of marriage. Therefore, that's why Mishnah divides it to two things. One is wine, and one is wine of the zog, and one is, although marriage also have a zog in the end, but one is what? One is what? One one is chasnas, which is indirect, marry the daughters, and then you go to have the zog. That's why the Braisa divides it to two different gzeros. Comes the guy and he says, "Velire." You guys have it? Stronger black letters. Velire. Looks to me. There's 4 lines. 4 lines at the beginning of the paragraph. Velire. And to me, it looks like Shapat shel Gechovim, it belongs to a goy. Afilu shenizbash ad Yisrael, even
Great, I'm the host. Anybody else there? Moshe? Moshe, you there? Moshe, you are, I want to call you after. I need to speak to you for a minute. So, your number is 135 at the end. That's a good one. Okay. Whoops. That's your 135 at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll call you when we finish if we get back over here.
Okay.
Doesn't look like it. Oh.
Great tweet.
though, even though the baking, the cooking did, the Kohen Jew baked it, there's no gzeira of wine. Because when there's a gzeira of wine, I eat the bread of a goy, and every it's drinking normal bread you drink when you eat. So you come to wine by a goy, but by a Jew, I drink the wine of a goy. But marriage, you might get to marriage. I understand the svara. Rabbi Shlomo. What's a svara? He prepares it by the baking of wine for the time of marriage. Right? So it belongs to a goy, prepared by a goy, owned by a goy, and a Jew as a worker of a goy. So there's no problem of wine and sick somehow, but there's a problem of marriage. What? I can't hear. Why I don't have? I don't know. But he says the prohibition is chasnus. Well, so therefore,
but he sees the daughters. He's around. He's around the daughters.
right. Since it's owned by a goy, he's around the daughters. Because it's owned by, I go to the owner. I go to the owner has daughters, I marry his daughters. The other guy, the worker, is not socializing, he's just the worker. But the owner is the socializer. So I might get to socialize, I get into chasnus. But yain nesech has to do with the bread itself. I'm eating a bread of a goy. If he eating, he's drinking. So I drink the wine, the same owner. We don't have. That we don't have. Once a Jew is a worker there, I won't come to drink wine, nesech, yain nesech, together with the bread somehow. I don't see a full small, but that's what he says. Yes.
The guy only does Lisha is nothing. No, not Lisha. Lisha has a same pass.
In ownership. No. So okay, come into marriage. But why not? But not why not yain nesech? But I want to drink. If I eat the bread, I want to drink. I'll drink it. He's eating the bread. Bought the bread from him. He's going to eat it. So now he's going to eat it. So we should worry. Don't buy because you might eat it and drink the wine. So he's saying, if it's owned by a goy, right away when I buy, there's a problem. While I'm buying, I'm seeing his daughter. But here, when I'm eating, there's no problem to buy. So only when I eat the bread, I want to drink. Okay, but it doesn't matter. Always when I prohibit bread, I'm not allowed because I'm not allowed to eat because I might drink wine of nesach too. So what's the problem? True that chasnas is prior, but there still should be an issue also of wine nesach. Somehow he says that issue doesn't exist. I don't know. Okay.
He will not drink. He will not eat it. He cannot even. I'll say more. He cannot have pas shalom. Don't say even eating. Pas shalom he cannot have.
Okay.
Pas shalom brings it. This is very. And these shalom is very pas shalom.
But you're not giving us small. Why we don't worry for wine? Every bread. Good. But we said you're not allowed to eat wine of goy, but you're not allowed to eat bread of goy. Because you might drink wine nesach. Yain nesach, what's wrong? Why not here too?
It's not eating. I'm buying. Buying is not eating. Buying is not eating. Buying is not buying. You want, it's not eating. If you don't eat wine, you buy. It's not eating. Eating is not.
So 1 second. So you want to say really when I eat there's a problem of yain nesach. But he doesn't talk about when I'm eating. He said when I'm buying right over the of chasnas. Could be. Okay, possible. Let's continue on. See if your pshat is true. When it says a Gemara later on, page 38b. We don't have our Gemara, but some Girsa says, Pat sholish melochos yeshbo. Bread has 3 parts to it. 3 melochos. Melochos is in the words Katzav Shabbos, 39 Obis melochos. There's 3 melochos in bread. The offer Yisrael, one of the melochos is baking, is the putting the bread in the oven and closing it. The offer Yisrael shori, if the Jew baked it, is permitted. The offer Yisrael shori, if a Jew baked it, it's permitted. She says, shh, they singing. We affected the singing. Baruch Hashem. That's good. Baruch Hashem. That the offer Yisrael shori, if a Jew baked it, is permitted. He says, when a Jew is involved in the baking, permits it. When a Jew owns the bread, and the Jew baked the bread, even though part of it is a goy. A Jew owns the bread, and a goy bakes the bread, but part of the melachas a Jew did the baking. So it says, since a Jew owns the bread, and part of the baking a Jew did, part of the 3 melachas, one of the 3 melachas of the baking of the bread a Jew did, so it becomes Jew bread. You heard about the concept of Jew bread? Jew beans, Jew bread. When I was in America, a young boy, He used to laugh at me. Jew beans, Jew beans. You never heard that? Never laughed at you. I used to go to all those Durney Park, Hershey Park, you know those parks? So all those non-Jewish girls. They used to watch us. I had a big payas outside. And he used to laugh at us. Jew beans, Jew beans, Jew beans. Jew bread. Okay. I don't know what does that mean, Jew beans. That's why they laughed at us. I knew they were trying to laugh at us. I don't know what. That's what they were doing. What? Yes, okay. I learned from this, and I'm a Jew, Baruch Hashem. Ani mila v'pachelonu. That's only by our bread. Sharei en bo isu. There's no prohibition in it. Our bread, there's no worry that might feed you dovotome. Your bread. So there's no problem of giul akum and feed you dovotome. Elu mishum bishul v'kochomim is only a problem of cooking of a goy. A Jew owns the bread, and the goy cooked it, and the Jew, the isur bishul shel pat, itiros chachomim, the isur of bishul of cooking of bread, the rabbis permitted it. The achas misholish. If a Jew did one of the three of works of bread, and that's at least will be through a Jew, it's permitted. Aval pat sheloim, but if the bread is owned by a goy, their bread, one of the three melachas does permitted. Afilu ner the Yisrael asu even was baked by a Jew, but since a goy needed it and prepared it of the baking and the cooking, it's also.
It's like ownership is what it brings to customers.
If the ownership is by a goy, so it's finito la comedia. Their bread doesn't matter if the Jew is involved or not. It's owned by a goy, and they say it speaks like a duck, and then it looks like a duck. So what is it? It's a duck. That's a famous joke, right? It's a goy. It's a goyish bread. They need it. They prepare it, right? Why are you laughing? They prepared it. They needed it, and they own it. So all I care, Jew is involved, Jew worker that works there. He's just a worker. It's owned by a goy. The rabbis didn't permit if it's owned by a goy in a word of chasnas, of marriage. But if it's owned by a Jew, and the goy is baking it, if the Jew is involved in the baking, then we permit it. This is by the way, this is a big chumah. So when I have a fadi, I have a humilius, as it called. Romel, fadi, all goy involved. It's owned by a Jew, and the goy was involved. It's owned by a Jew, and the goy did some work on it, right? It's owned by a Jew, and the goy did some work on it. So what do we say? It permits, the rabbis permitted it. There's no problem of chas. There's no problem of yeino. There's no problem of giul akum. There's no problem of davarisu or giul akum because it's owned by a Jew. The only thing is bishul akum. The rabbi said if a Jew is involved, then one of the melachas permits it. But if it's goyish ownership, as long as the goy is involved a little bit, even though the Jew is involved too, we always say. Oh, right. A goy owns it, so there's a relationship to the goy. Connect owner. So if the owner is a Jew, as a goy, finito. We don't permit some Jews' involvement there. If the ownership is a Jew and the goy is involved, as long as the Jew is involved too, we permit. Okay. That's why the Tana separated to two different decrees. The Ainu, which this means, the Ainu, the Becholai Psikta the pot, says that's why in the whole sugi of bread, Lo I see in the Rabbi Yochanan. The whole sugya of bread of that that the rabbis prohibit made a on bread that they put in the field, etc. About the Gemara did not bring the statement of Rabbi Yochanan there's three jobs in bread, and if the Jew did one of them, it's permitted. Definitely is out. But even if he did one of them, the Jew did one of them. Why the Gemara didn't bring it back? Because by ownership, by of the if it's around one work, he won't work later of cooking. If you own the food, then one of the even though the guy did other. But when you talk about bread of goy is it as akum is the bread of goons, then the Gemara didn't promote this three lochas works in bread. You're not going to eat even stamyenom because you drink wine and marry the daughters. I don't think by milk and cheese there's this problem. By milk and cheese is not because of marriage. Milk we saw chalav tameh, and by cheese the Gemara brought many reasons. Kevas nevela, they smear in it, shuman chazir, etc. That's his chasnas? No. Milk is one thing, cheese is one thing. Milk is davar tameh, cheese is kevas nevelas tameh, or venom, or eres venom of a snake, etc. Ordinary wine, there was two machlekes. Ordinary wine bring you, stam yain will bring you to yain nesech, or stam yain will bring you to the daughters. Then we saw Ramban, we saw a few sheets of showing. But bread of goyim, which is our sugya, and cooked food of goyim, there he says bread and oil is mishum of yain, bring it over the zohar, and cooked food is because of marriage. So the cooked food is a marriage we permit if the bread belongs to Jews. But if the food belongs to Jews, then one of the malachas permits it. But if the food belongs to a goy, like a bread of goy, none of the malachas will permit it. Now, he continues. Lefisha apat Hashem is just saying with the bread that is talking about our Mishnah, lo mitoras bishul bilvad nesa. When we have bread in our Mishnah, bread of goyim, we don't have to come on that it's also because of cooking alone. It's prohibited because of what? Yain. Since it's owned by a goy, it's not because the goy cooked it. Because the goy owns it. So then there's a problem of yain nesech, not only cooking, which leads you to marriage. That's a big yisoid. If the goy owns the bread, so then there's a gzeira of wine, which is yain nesech. You also have a gzeira of every baking is cooking. And cooking we prohibit because you might marry the daughters, right? Which is different gzeira. So really, bread has two gzeiras in it. As the original gzeira of bread of a goy. Original gzeira of a goy what? That you might, when you eat bread, you need to drink, or those who choke, so you might drink yain nesech. Number two, every baking is also cooking. So since it's owned by a goy and it's cooked by a goy, it's a goy. It's owned by a goy and it's cooked by a goy, so therefore it's a problem also of marriage. What's an afkamina? In a place where the goy owns it, but the Jew was involved in the cooking. So he might not have the prohibition of yain nesech, but a prohibition of bishul akum exists. Which means, but in general, every bread that owned by a goy, there's two reasons to prohibit it: yain nesech and bishul akum. But if it's a bread of a Jew, and the goy was involved in the cooking, the baking, there the rabbis permit that if the Jew did one of the workers, one of the three jobs of pot, it's already permitted from the issue of bishul akum. But not yain nesech. Aval lekamon, there's no yain nesech if the Jew owns it. Aval lekamon bepaske de shlokos. But in page, not 35, page 36 and onwards, which the Gemara speaks about cooked food, or 36, yeah. The subject matter there is about cooked food of goyim. By sin alone, there the Gemara brings a statement of Rabbi Yochanan that there's three jobs, three melochas and bread, and one of them a Jew did it permits. Then we talk about cooked food. The issue of bishul akum means you own it and the goy cooked. You own the bread and the goy was involved. She'en b'hem isu, there's no isu at all of biliyos, etc. And yain nesech. There's only problem of chasnus. So one of the melachas permits. Elam bishul, there's no problem of yain nesech. Because you own it. You own it. But the Jew own it. There's only problem of bishul akum, the goy is involved. So question, how much the goy is involved? If the goy did all three melachas out, the Jew did one of the three, it's permitted. Kach lili. The Ran concludes, so it looks to me. You following us? Even the Ravid I found, he explained the difference with our Mishnah and the Gemara later on. The Laid come on later on, the Pacholosh Moloch Sheshbo, bread has three jobs. Dafka Pacholon, the Ravid is our bread. We say that is our bread is part of yain nesech, the part of marriage. So then one of the melochas a Jew did is already permitted. Not from ours that we said our bread. That's true problem, and the goy is involved in the problem of chasnos. No, he learned. He's afraid that bread is a problem of swallowing impure food. So therefore, if it's our bread, there's no problem of impure food. Their bread, not a problem of marriage or yain nesech, is a problem of swallowing impure food. So he says, according to the words of the Raven, also the bread which talks about our Mishnah, which is the bread of a goy, owned by a goy. Even if the goy didn't bake it, the Jew did all the three parts of the baking, the three melachos of the goy owns it. He needed it, and the goy did all three parts of the afia of the baking. This it's been prohibited, but not because of chatnus, because he owns it as a chasus. Giul, what does giul mean? Owned by a goy. And it's in his house, the Jew doesn't matter. By a goy, we worry for swallowing impure food. Maybe the pots are in the same day they cooked impure thing of it, and the food is still good. Showers, the batsioima is pagum. We worry, according to the Ravid, that maybe all the vessels are within the same day of cooking pure food and taste, good taste, shvach, not pagum, not blemished taste, actually good taste, elevated taste, went into the bread, and that's why it's also because of so now the Ran concludes, according to the Ravid, bread of a goy has two prohibitions. Bread that a goy owns has two prohibitions, Daniel. Number one is what? Mishum giul, because of swallowing impure food from pots which is the same day. They cooked impure food in it. Or mishum bishul, and also the problem of cook of going, When you cook from goyim, you might marry the daughters. This is the Raivet. Elo she'ein ze mechuva. What the Raivet says is not clear to me. She'asugyos mechichos, if you learn well, the sugyos is proven. Like Derebas Yoima, we don't worry that maybe the vessels was in the same day. The Gemara says no, we don't worry. Ordinary vessels of a goy is not Bas Yoima, and it's not Lipgam, so there's no problem of giule akum, of swallowing of non-kosher food. Rather, the problem is marriage or wine. Like I'll explain later on. Until here, we learned yesterday. Now we come into the main point. But I saw the Rambam in Rabbeinu Moshe b'mazal. What is mazal? Ram b'mazal. Ram is Rabbeinu Moshe ben Maimon, zichrono livracha. But also it's a good word that he cuts it. Instead of Ram b'mazal, he wrote Ram b'mazal. The Ram, Rabbeinu Moshe, with a good luck. Just like a thing, but really means Rabbeinu Moshe ben Rabbeinu Maimon, zichrono livracha. Yes. Shalosh melachot. No. Any bread has 2 parts. Has 3 parts. One is putting the fire. Number 2 is maintaining the fire. Number 3 is closing the oven on the bread, on the dough. The bake itself. What bake means? You put it and you close it. To put the dough on the fire. There is lighting the fire, maintaining the fire, and putting the bread close to the fire to be baked. Those are the 3 things. Comes the Rambam and he says, "Shekos v'la'id the gimel melochas the pot." The Rambam wrote the 3 melochas of bread stam. What is the word stam, Yonatan? Plain, with no chilukim. Our bread, their bread. It's mashma that even a goyisha bread, if a Jew did one of the work permits it. Capish? Beperek Yudzai Meluchos Macholos Asuros. Velo Yichilek, he didn't make any split ben Pachal our bread, let's show him their bread. And so we see the Rambam argues on the Ramban. The Ramban and the Raiven made a chiluk between our bread and their bread. Our bread is no problem of. Our bread is no problem of Yain Nesech. But there's a problem of marriage. So if one of the work 3 melochas of bread, a Jew does, right away permits it. But their bread, it's a problem of Yain Nesech and marriage. So therefore, even one of the works a Jew did, as long as the rest was done by a goy, or even all 3 works a Jew did, but is owned by a goy, and he did it, and he owns it, still prohibit. We don't permit it. But the Rambam said no. The Rambam holds our bread and their bread is all the same. Comes the Ran and he says, you're right. The Rambam is against me. But the feet vov, according to the words of the Rambam, it looks like the Mishu Mochi Palgilu Tati says, I wanted to say 2 different Gzeiros, our bread, my bread. Right? Why? Why I wanted to gain? He says, oil and bread is Yain Nesech, and cooked food is marriage. And bread has 2 things. Bread has Yain Nesech, and originally oil and bread was only Yain Nesech. And cook is not part of it. Later on, when they added cooking of marriage, every cooking includes also baking. So now baking has 2. Later on, baking bread has 2 reasons. Later on, right? And if when we talk about bread of goyim, we talk about bread that's owned by a goy. When we talk about baking of goyim, we talk about it's owned by a Jew and a goy bakes and a goy cooks. So when a Jew owns and a goy bakes, if one of the workers, one of the jobs of baking, the Jew did permits, but if a goy owns it and he didn't want the job, doesn't permit it because there's two gzeiras there. One is yain esech and one is chasos, doesn't permit it. The rabbis didn't permit it. And the Rambam holds the same thing, but the Rambam put all together. The Rambam says as long as a Jew is involved in the baking, in any part of the baking, as long as a Jew is involved, doesn't matter if a Jew owns it or even a guy owns it. A Jew is involved, permits it. Means he doesn't hold his exer of wine, exer of chasos. No, a Jew is involved and permits it. So why we put, once again, so the problem comes back, why according to the Rambam, why we have bread and cooked food, two different gzeras. Even one is wine, and bread is gzera of wine, and cooked food is marriage. I understand two different gzeras. So although later on overlaps, but the gzera of marriage only came later, and yain was before. But according to the Rambam, that we see that the cooked food doesn't matter I own, they own. There's always permitted if a Jew is involved, which means the gzera of bread I permitted with one work of Jew means that the issue of baking and the issue of cooking is the same because we see the permission of one of the works that a Jew did involved in cooking permits cooking, also permits baking. So if it's the same reason, the same rules, why we have it as two gzeras? So he answers, there's other laws which are not the same. Where? Shapat, the bread, kol echad shagar yisol tanur. By a bread, when the Jew sent what? He lights the fire of the furnace, permits. Okay, now we'll give him a come on, we say by those three works, one of them is lighting the fire. So by bread, if the goy light the fire, already permits it. Listen to this very big chumor. But all the other cooking, the bishul, when the goy cooks, even though the goy the Jew light the fire, also, Ashkenazim, hello, Ashkenazim, if the Jew light the fire, a goy can cook. They follow who? The Ramban and the Ravid. But Sfardim, Yonatan follow who? The Rambam. The Rambam holds, Sfardim follow the Rambam. The Rambam holds that no, when a goy bakes the bread, cooks, and the Jews just light the fire, there's no head there. Doesn't help. Kemoy shizbair lefnim besiyata dishmaya. No. Again, showing you where. Again. Shapat by bread, the shagar tanur shori. By bread of goyim, if a Jew light the fire, permits it. But by cooked food, where the goy light the fire, doesn't help. Since they are different in the laws, it is not being prohibited in one subject. Each one has different rules. The Tana and Mishnah wrote it in two different rules. Even then, both of them is isu bishul. Bread is bishul, and bishul is bishul. Both is bishul is one category, but there are different laws. Bread, I permit with one work, permits it. By cooked food, if the Jew just lit the fire, is not enough. What do you want to say? Bake. They're different, the Ramban are different, and the Ravid are different.
The ingredients are not of the shiur, are not allowed to eat. Because the ingredients
Doesn't matter, according to the Rav, doesn't matter who owns the ingredients, a Jew or Goy, as long the Goy baked it is also. But if the Jew was involved in some work, doesn't matter if a Goy owns it or a Jew owns it, but as long a Jew is involved, even lighting the fire, according to the Rambam, by bread it permits. But by cooked food, we don't permit if the Jew just lit it. And according to the Raiva, no. If the Jew just lit the fire, depends if the Goy owns it, the Jew owns it. If a Jew owns it, even if the Jew just lit the fire, permits. But if the Goy owns it, doesn't help anything. Okay, Atkan, we have to summarize it, know it well. Yes, ask Yecheskel.
That's the